So welcome to the new TNTV studio here in sunny but snowy, in fact, Austria, in the foothills of the Alps, as we say, to our new programme this week.
Yes, we're calling it On the Couch with Tony and Nikki.
Yes, we've done the news desk, now we're on the couch. It's like after the news.
It's much more comfortable, actually.
It's very cosy in here, very cosy. Now, you remember last week we left you on the cliffhanger, just about to talk about the subject everybody wants us to talk about, which is beginning with an S and ending with an X, with an E in the middle. Yes, it's sex. And we started talking, of course, about the difference between wearing, red hats. Nikki's just come back from the hairdresser, so we're not wearing them this
We're not wearing hats.
What's the difference between the red and the green world? Well, what is the difference in the world of sex? We're talking about sex as an addiction, yeah?
Yeah, when we were saying last time, weren't we, how it's different for men and women. And do you want me to start with women?
Yes, go for it.
Let's start with the girls first.
When they're in the red.
Yes. You see, what's happened with us girls is that over the years, what's happened is we've, learned to, let me be blunt, have a very similar experience to what I can gather. Of course, I'll never know for certain. What I can gather is quite a male experience in the bedroom. So when we're having sex nowadays, we are also chasing an orgasm, which is what, when men are addicted to sex, is what they're doing. So, I mean,
Yes, I mean, the whole orgasm thing has been really interesting. Of course, we've written this book, which you have here on the old coffee table, called Multiple Orgasms with Ease and Elegance. Now, this is not about orgasms for men, it's about orgasms for women.
Yes.
And it's such a fantastic subject. And in fact, you always said I was a bit of an expert in one field, and then became an expert on orgasms, which is a fantastic thing to be an expert in. And of course, when you learn the difference between the sex and love, which are really the two different ways to do it. Love is very much sort of done in a green way. So in other words, you get your body or your being into a loving green state, sort of what we call out of the head. So you stop thinking, you start just being in a beautiful, loving state, which you can do amazingly by utilising your breath and various other techniques, which we explain well in the book, of course. And really, when you get yourself into that state, you get a completely different experience of life. But more importantly, when you're making love to your woman, you give her a completely different experience. So maybe you would.
Yeah, I mean, what we say is this book called Multiple Orgasms with Ease and Elegance, as Tony rightly said, is, really going from what's very habitual nowadays for men and women, which is we call it sexual athletics, which is not it's a very blunt way of explaining that we've got into this habit of going, you have your orgasm, I have my orgasm, and so many women are left going, was that it? Or they're feeling like they've had some kind of need, but a red need more than a green need, in terms of an unhealthy need met by just having somebody have sex with them, which is what we were talking about last week. And I think what we're saying here is this is not about, technique, it's not about sexual technique, it's about saying to women, when you get yourself in a more green kind of space, what does that look like? It means you're being in a loving space, you're not looking for unhealthy needs to be met. You're feeling good about yourself. You're not looking for a man to make you feel lovable. You're feeling love. You feel love.
Yeah, I think one of the major differences, as we described it, is you're really out of thought. Now, one of the things that obviously red sex people do is that they visualise, or they visualise by visualising in their head other sexual things to get themselves more sexually excited, which of course leads to orgasm quickly. And then, of course, if that happens for a man quickly, then basically it is pretty much all over. Once that's happened, it's about, I think, it's 17-minute recovery time. So most men go, okay, straight to sleep.
Yeah, but the truth is that's happening for women as well.
Yes.
I mean, nowadays women are, very capable of manipulating their own orgasm. And what we're saying is, that's never going to be an insatiable thing. It's never going to be sustainable. It's never going to be something that you're going to be having enjoyment together with for years and years and years. It's going to always feel like you've got to do something more exciting, more adventurous to get that high. And so what we're saying is it's a completely different energy to be in that gives you love making rather than having sex.
Yeah, and so that way you don't get hooked on those orgasms. You get hooked on the feeling of being in a loving space with the other person, which is so much more beautiful. So that is really literally the 5-minute version of what's the difference between red sex and green making love to each other in a very beautiful way. So really that's it from the couch for this week.
Yes.
We will be back next week with something else exciting to share with you. And so in the meantime, it is goodbye from me, Tony V, and goodbye from my beautiful wife.
Yes, goodbye from me. And if there is anything, I mean, it's a really personal subject, isn't it? If there's anything you really want to talk to us about privately, you know, you can always ask us a question on the website or, you know, get in touch with us.
Yes, and of course you can always buy that book. We always say keep it by your bed, read it together at night, chapter by chapter, and just trust that magic and miracles will happen in your love.
For singles and couples.
Yes. So it's goodbye from me.
And again, goodbye from me.
Okay, see you next week.
Bye-bye.